ready?
I'm ready. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second episode of the Taste Buds podcast.
Yay! Hello, everyone.
We're happy to have you guys here.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for coming back.
Yeah. If you guys have any feedback from our first episode, please let us know. Actually, you know what I realized after recording and listening to our first episode? Is that I say the word a lot, and I say I love that a lot.
I say I know a lot, which is awful. That is a terrible thing to say a lot.
No,
For me to
it's
say,
not.
oh yes, I know. Yeah, I think it makes me sound so like I think I'm really knowledgeable.
I didn't think that at all when I was listening to it.
Also, and I just did it, I realized I've touched my hair maybe 15,000 times. So that's the first time I've had myself on camera for maybe an hour, and I noticed just how many times I touched my hair.
So bear with us, guys. We are new at this.
Yes.
This is a learning experience. I'm really going to work on not saying and I love that. Kelsey's going to work on not saying I know and touching her hair. Come along for the ride with us.
Yeah, we already know. You don't have to tell us. When there's things like that, we got it. So it's okay.
So Kelsey, since you're 20 hours ahead of me, I'm in Arizona in the US, if anybody doesn't know, and Kelsey is all the way in New Zealand. So she is 20 hours ahead of me. Right now it's Thursday in Arizona and it is Friday in New Zealand. So what is Friday like? How's Friday
Friday's
going?
Fabulous.
Tell me what I have in my future.
Well, Friday in New Zealand means that we are, well, at least where I'm in Auckland, we are in step 1 of level 3 of lockdown, which is ridiculous.
Oh,
but
wow.
I know
Step one?
It's been step 1 of level 3. It's like 2 and 2/3 of the way. I don't know. It's right now, like, we're allowed to go and catch up with friends in a park, socially distanced. We have to be outside. And we can see friends and family, which we have some family here, but my Will's family. So we can do that, but there's a lot of things that aren't open. So it's very slow transition, which has been tough, but it's getting closer to summer. It really feels like spring. And yeah, so everything's been great. We're jumping into summer, spring. I'm excited.
Although Kelsey is about to come to the US for El Tour de US to go see her family. So you're going to go from summer right into winter.
Yes. Well, I'll be there in about 2 weeks now. It'll be
so exciting.
I'll actually be at your house when we release our 3rd episode.
Maybe we'll have to do something live when we're together, or record an episode when we're together.
I definitely think so. Because, yeah, I'm flying in on the 24th, and then I'm stopping over at April's for a very short
48
visit.
hours?
Yeah, a short visit.
36 hours.
Yes, very excited about it. And then I'll be heading to Birmingham to go see my family.
Good old Alabama.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Unfortunately, Will can't come with me yet because of lockdown. The embassy is not open, so he can't go to his embassy interview, but hopefully he'll be joining me soon.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Will is Kelsey's boyfriend, and he is a Kiwi. He is a native New Zealander.
Yeah, he's a flightless bird. Just kidding.
Is that the official term?
That's what a Kiwi is. They're a nocturnal flightless bird. They don't do very much, but...
Wow. Learn new things every day.
I know. It's very funny.
I wonder how they chose that.
That's a good question. I think it's probably like a Māori thing, which is the indigenous peoples in New Zealand.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Huh. Yeah. So I'm not sure though. I don't know. Don't quote me on that one.
Don't worry, I won't. Just everyone listening is going to.
Yeah, it's all right. It's fine. What about you, April? How's your Thursday?
It's going well. Just super busy working from home today on EHS. I call my business Edge Health Solutions EHS because it's just easier to call it that. So just running around like a crazy person, but I love Thursdays because I get the privilege of working from home and it's my favorite day. So that's super exciting. My husband, Joe, right now is on a business trip in Des Moines, Iowa. So I've been fending for myself for the last few days. I'm just
You
excited.
independent lady.
Listen, I just lock all of my doors. I locked the bedroom door too. It didn't help that I decided to start watching this new show on Netflix called 9 Perfect Strangers. The first night he was gone. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I don't think we have it in New Zealand.
On Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix is different.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
We only have some of the shows that you guys get. But if you use a VPN, if we get sponsored by the VPN place that sponsors everyone, let us know because we can definitely do that. But
you know what? That's actually interesting because, side note, and then I'll give my review of 9 Perfect Strangers, but I interned abroad in Hong Kong in undergrad, and they're very restrictive at the time. At least I don't know what they do now, but they were very restrictive with Facebook and social media and all those things. So we used to download something, I can't remember what it was because it was so long ago, to like reroute our system to make our computers think we were in the US. Yeah. Does that? I just remembering that now.
Yeah, I use a VPN plugin to watch the Great British Bake Off or baking show because
I love that show. I just think of the holidays when I think of that show.
It just makes me happy. It's it's my turn off my brain when I'm feeling stressed out show.
They're just so calming.
They are.
And they make the most delicious things. But anyways, I decided to start watching 9 Perfect Strangers because I had heard whispers of it, just like here and there on podcasts, social media, other people. And I was like, no time like the present to start a new show.
No time like being at home by yourself to start a new scary show.
Well, I didn't know it was a scary show. I didn't really do research beforehand. And it's not very scary. It's not thriller. It's more of what's the category I would give it? Very definitely dramatic.
Action-y? Is it like crime?
Oh, I just had the word. It's not crime. I just said again too.
Don't worry about it.
It's on the tip of my tongue. But anyways, it's really interesting. Melissa McCarthy's in it, who is just amazing in general as a human being.
Yeah.
And who is Keith Urban's wife?
Is it the one where they all go to that hotel?
Yeah.
And what's her name?
Keith Urban's wife.
Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
Everyone's probably screaming.
She's the main
Nicole
lady
Kidman. Yes, and she's got blonde hair and she's like real creepy.
So it's just like weird vibes. It's just really like creepy is not the word I'm looking for to describe it. But
I thought-provoking I would say it's just like a feeling of feeling unsafe, maybe.
Unsettled, unsafe. And no, there's a word I'm thinking of that describes that type of show and movie.
I want to say like a chilling, I don't know.
It'll come to me. And it's come and gone during this conversation. I keep waiting. But anyways, if you're into those kind of like ominous, creepy kind of vibes, you might like it.
I have, because we're talking about being at home alone and creepy things happening, I have one story and then we should probably get started, but I think you'll like the story. And if anyone, our listeners, really likes true crime, which I think a lot of people do, maybe not true crime, but just like spooky stuff, this story might be for you as well. So at my house, so I live in a villa in Auckland and it was built in 1910, so it's very old. You can see it's got like, well, there's a big window behind me, but it's got like big ceilings. It looks like I'm wearing a hat with a chandelier. Now you won't be able to unsee it though.
I know.
I know. Maybe I'll just so, and the way that our house has been split up, it used to be one really big mansion and they've broke it up into different apartments. So my apartment is actually it's a 1-bedroom. It's got a lounge and it's got a downstairs kitchen and bathroom. And there's 4 apartments in it now. There's mine, one that's on the first floor behind mine. There's one on the second floor in the back. And then there's one that's in between the back one and mine because we have the front of the house. So there's one that in there that just,
it's a big house.
It's a really big
Holy
old
crap!
villa.
Yeah.
And so there's one behind us. It's just like a 1-bedroom. It's not a studio, but it's pretty close to a studio. It's just got like one room and then a bedroom attached to it. And they keep it empty. And I was like, why do they keep it empty? Like, that seems weird. Oh, April, let me tell you. So and this is like a little juju, but it kind of runs in my family a little bit that we're a little bit, some of us,
superstitious.
Yeah, not, I would say superstitious, a little. Like, there's some stories about I think like my great aunt or something, and she was like super psychic, and she knew when things were gonna happen. And it's kind of run in the family a little bit, and I can tell more about these stories later, but I have had a few predictive dreams before in the past where I've
Kelsey,
like
I did
had a
not
dream.
know this about you.
I know. It's, and my aunt has it too, and it's like it's happened to me before. My aunt has it too, and it's kind of just like run in the family. Just there's just like a few women, and I've heard from my aunt about this, so she's been the one that's kind of like, yeah, it's okay, it's normal. So I am in this place, and I like kind of feel a little of a vibe, and I'm like, there's some weird stuff going on in this house because it's super old, and like, surely there's something in here.
Right.
And I don't know if you believe in ghosts or not. I don't know if I do. I think I maybe do, but anywho, I had this feeling that I was like, all right, I think that there's like some type of vibe on the stairs. And I just like, I'm like, if I had to put a person or a name to it, I think there's like an older guy, like a 50-year-old spirit man in my stairwell / in that back apartment, because the stairwell backs up to that empty apartment. And so I'm like, I think his name's Frank, but this is just me.
Frank.
Frank's gonna be like standing there.
Yeah, do you mean the guy right behind you right now?
Yeah. How creepy. Oh my God, don't say that. It gave me the chills. So anyway, so I am assuming that there's Frank living here. So it gets more intense because I've always been like, haha, Frank. And he's a good guy, I assume. I think he's a good spirit. I think he's just there. I think he's just a little stuck in the wall. But I'm like, you're fine. So one night Will was out of town and I went to the local pub. You can call
Is that what they call it around?
Yeah, and it's like
in Auckland.
It's the Birkenhead, which I live in Birkenhead in Auckland. It's the Birkenhead Brewing Company, so it's the BBC, which is what they call it.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So I was there with a couple of friends who are also from Birkenhead that night, and we're just chatting, and this older guy comes in, and one of our friends knew him, and they're just talking to him, and I introduced myself, and it came up that I lived in that house, and he said, "Oh, I also used to work in that house. We used to have a studio, so in that building, so in the second apartment, they used to have offices in." And I said, "Oh," and he said, "You know, it's haunted." And I said, "Is it an old man?" And he said, "Yes."
Oh my God.
So this man I've never met before, he said, yeah, he's like, "Yeah, there's an old man. He used to turn off and on the lights in the second apartment." And I said, "I knew it. He lives in our stairwell." He said, "Yes, he lives right there." And I was like, oh my gosh.
That's really funny.
I got confirmation that there is an old man. I don't know if his name's Frank or not, but that's my spooky story about my house.
I love that. That's so funny. You learn new things about each other every day. I didn't know that you had that in your family.
Yeah, it's very strange. I don't know. Some people believe it, some people don't. Either way, it's just fun. It's a fun thing.
Fun. So I tend to not really believe in ghosts and things, but I love hearing those stories because I think they're really interesting.
I know, it's hard to like tell. Even me, I'm like, I don't know, maybe.
But that's still really cool that he noticed the same thing as you. Yeah. You're on the same wavelength.
There's like so many other stories about this house. We live across from like an alien worshiping society. Apparently, they used to grow a bunch of weed downstairs. It's crazy in like the 70s.
In the town I grew up in Massachusetts, it's called Medfield. And there's an old closed down insane asylum in the town. It's actually where they filmed Shutter Island.
Wow.
With Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah. And
as kids, because it's like all shut down and creepy, we used to sneak over and like check out the buildings. And then there would be like a groundskeeper that would drive around and we'd have to like hide and stuff, but it's always so creepy. Like these old closed down buildings feel like there's somebody there.
We had a similar insane asylum near, which they're not called that anymore.
I know they aren't. It just there's like the old sign was up and it was called that back when it was off.
Yeah. They have one in Philadelphia near where we grew up, and I forget the name of it, but it's pretty famous. It's like on the top 100 most haunted places in America, blah, 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 you know? And they used to turn it into a like haunted house at Halloween time, but because it was haunted, even the people that worked the haunted house had to sign waivers and say it's okay because it might be haunted.
No, I do not like scary things. I will never go in a haunted house. No. Halloween's not my vibe. I don't do it.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like we just talked for ages and maybe all that out. But shall we jump into what are we doing first? The recipe or the research this week? What do you want to do?
Let's kick off with the research like we did last week.
Yep. Let's do
research. Well, let's take a short break, you guys, and when we come back, we'll talk all things research.
Awesome. See you soon. Okay. We are back, ready for our research. April will be presenting this week. I'm so excited.
Yes. So I have to say my research was inspired by your research last week. So for those of you who didn't tune in last week, or if you haven't heard it yet, Kelsey and I talked about collagen supplementation, and that's the research that Kelsey did. So if you're interested in hearing about collagen supplementation and whether or not you should be taking it, go listen to our first episode. But today we're going to be talking about BCAA supplementation.
Yay.
Do you know much about BCAA supplementation?
Not really. I know we like kind of touched on amino acids last week and kind of how they work, but I think it actually will be really helpful because even thinking back to last week, I was like, oh, I feel like I could have explained how amino acids work a little bit better. So I'm actually really glad we're circling back to kind of dig into a little bit more. So that's exciting. Okay, I'm ready.
Touch on it.
I have to be honest, I don't know tons about it. I know basics, but I'm excited to dig in.
Yeah, me too. And I think, well, supplements are just interesting in general because I feel like they're so overhyped, I guess, in a sense. They tend to be just a lot of people, I think, make them sound like they are the end all be all. And certainly supplements have their place in our life, but they don't replace a lot of things or make up for a generally well-balanced diet. But anyways, okay, so if you've heard of BCAA supplements, a lot of people take them or like to take them, but what it stands for is branch chain amino acids. So if you don't know what amino acids are, they are the building blocks for proteins. So proteins are made up of amino acids. And there are two different types of amino acids that we have. There are essential amino acids and non-essential amino acids. What we really need to focus on in our day-to-day lives or diet are the essential amino acids. And the reason why they're called essential amino acids, and there are 9 of them, is because our bodies cannot create them. So therefore, they are essential that we ingest or take in those 9 amino acids. So branch chain amino acids are 3 specific of the 9 essential. So branch chain amino acids are leucine, isoleucine, and valine. So those are the 3 branch chain amino acids.
Yeah.
So when you are taking BCAA supplementation or branch chain amino acid supplementation, you're taking essentially 3 of the essential amino acids. So 3 of the essential building blocks of proteins. And that's what BCAAs are. So around the claims around branch chain amino acids supplementation that I just see out there, or people claim that it helps with muscle growth. They claim that it helps enhance exercise performance, that it helps with weight loss, and that it can reduce fatigue after exercise. So should I go right in with what the facts are versus the claims, or should we talk about the 2 research studies I found first?
Well, I think maybe we just jump into, why don't we go over the research just a little bit and then go to the final answer?
Okay.
teaser.
I love it.
Teaser.
Okay, I love it. Let's do that. Okay, and I have
let's
do that, and I have my notes in front of me, which is why but I wanted to touch on this real quickly before we get started, because we talked about last and then we mentioned RCT. And then we mentioned RCT, and that is randomized controlled trials. So I want to trials. So I want to touch on that really quickly, so you guys understand what we're referring to. When we're looking at these research studies, you can conduct these studies in different ways, and the most reliable research studies are the randomized studies, and the randomized studies. The almost gold standard of studies are the randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trials. So those are the research studies that you really want to look for when you're looking for reliable research. So it's really interesting because there's a lot of research out there that isn't as reliable as others. So there's almost tiers of research, which I don't know if a lot of people know that, versus an observational study wouldn't be as reliable as the randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial.
And really, like the one that you're talking about, randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled. There's like three parts of that. Randomized means that all the participants have been randomly chosen. They've gotten a sample size. And they said, okay, we're going to randomly choose who gets the intervention or who whatever. Placebo controlled means that control group, so the people that don't get the intervention, get something similar to the intervention. And then the double-blinded means that the participants don't know who has what, and first line of researchers don't know, they can't have any bias. So they can't have any bias. So that's things that really make it special. Things that really make it
absolutely.
special.
And a lot of times with the placebo, the placebo group, the placebo group, like for this example, with the BCAAs, if they're distributing the branched chain amino acids pill form, they would give the placebo group a pill that looks exactly like intervention group, but it would maybe just be sugar. It wouldn't have any sugar. It wouldn't have really in it at all. Really in it at all. And you said the perfect word. They're trying to reduce any bias. And that is just another layer when I have the researchers who are actually physically giving the pills to each individual. If they don't know what is in that pill, whether it's sugar or branched chain amino acids or whatever intervention, then that just gives a whole nother level. It's not as biased. So it just makes it more of a reliable study. Kelsey and I always try to look for studies that are randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled, and also studies that happen within the last 5 years or so, because they're just more recent. So I just want to touch on that real quickly. I know we mentioned it last week, and I realized I didn't explain what it is. So the first study that I found the effect of branched chain amino acid supplementation on recovery following acute eccentric exercise. This was in 2018. And this basically just evaluated the effect of branched chain amino acid supplementation. So that was one of the claims earlier, whether or not branched chain amino acids can help with recovery time. So it looked at 20 males. And it also kind of looked at improvement in muscle function, which it found that branched chain amino acids do not help improve with muscle function. So this study looked asked to evaluate their perceived level of muscle soreness using a visual analog scale. So basically, after they finished working out, participants had to look at a visual scale and say how sore they were. So this particular study examined the effect of branched chain amino acids also on the surrogate marker of muscle damage, which stands for creatine kinase. So for those of you who are wondering, creatine is not the same as creatinine. They're different things. So this is creatine kinase, and it's a blood marker of so when you do any type of strength training, you utilize your muscles, you create small muscle tears in your muscle, and that's how you build bigger muscle. So when you create that damage, that kinase is released into the blood. So they were analyzing that to see if branched chain amino acid supplementation would reduce the amount of CK in the blood, and that was kind of their way of determining if it was working or not. So basically the efflux or the flow of CK kinase into the blood is indicative of sarcolemma destruction. So sarcolemma is muscle cell membrane. Kind of what I was explaining. Destruction of the muscle cells, little tears because you're using your muscles. So basically what they found is that following all of the exercise CK was significantly elevated for pre-exercise levels in both groups.
Interesting.
Interesting. So they were asked to evaluate their perceived level of muscle soreness using a visual analog scale, and they did say that they felt like they were less sore. So
a couple interesting things about that study is whenever you use what's the word for it? Self-reporting in a study, it is really hard to take that and run with it without limitations because everyone's pain, especially muscle soreness differently. So I think that's really interesting. I mean, it's good that they used a biomarker as well, like the blood biomarker. But interesting that. It seems I don't know. It's hard. It's always really difficult to use self-reporting.
I agree.
In a study. Also, and I know that they do this a lot. When the heck are they going to start researching women? I'm sick of this.
Listen, sister, that was one of my comments at the end. Just wait till this other study. Still all men too.
Okay. All right. I'm ready for the next.
But yeah, I agree. Or any other gender than just men.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hello.
I remember when we had during our internship we had that conference where we were able to sit with a bunch of different fields in nutrition and there was a woman that was her table was on trans rights in the health sector, pretty much, which was so interesting. One table out of 50. Someone was talking about it, and I was like, we have not learned anything. I don't know. Like, I mean, I've done a little bit more research now, but at the time, we were at the end of our internship. I was ready to join the workforce, and I had no knowledge. I was ready to be, and I had no knowledge of any. How do I treat a trans patient? How do I look at gender? How do hormones work with nutritional needs? I don't know. I know a little bit more now, but at the time I was like, what do we do?
I love our facial expression. I agree, and I wonder if it's part of it is because there's been a lot of studies on nutrition compared to these different hormones or how change if you do have gender reassignment surgery, whatever it may be, and maybe that's why I don't know, but maybe that could be our next topic.
I think that's. I mean, same with even women studies. There's so little research out there for things like PCOS. Like we're kind of reaching some more area, but still such a long time just to get some research. So just something that I think is good to know.
Absolutely. And I sometimes I sit here and I'm really, can we not have more research on X, Y, and Z topic? And then I think to myself, well, you're not really out with that. So you're just expecting someone else to be doing the research. That's fair.
You have to keep in mind though, as much as we want to do the research, it's really hard to do research. There are so many steps in the process, and just to get for the app I we're working on different research studies and trying to just get grants for them to get started.
So hard,
almost impossible. So to choose a niche, I want to research this specific thing. You have to put every single bit of information, every single benefit, you really have to state your case to get any type of funding or grant support to actually do that.
Right.
So it's really hard.
And I think what a lot of people don't realize too is how specific research studies are.
Oh yeah.
Down to just think of this title of this study. They fact a brain chain amino acid timing on exercise induced muscle soreness and damage. Like it's just so specific. It can't just be a study that's like how do BCAAs work on our body? Like it has to be. So it's hard because you have to do so many research studies.
Yeah.
Every little
Has to be specific.
Yeah.
This intervention, this treatment, this group thing.
Like, oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah. It's so hard.
Well, speaking
All
of
right,
the next study is effective branched chain amino acid supplementation, timing, exercise-induced muscle soreness and damage. So you'll see kind of a theme here. They've really been focusing on the muscle soreness piece. There's really no research in regards to promoting weight loss. I mean, of course, when people do try to lose weight, cutting back on calories and then protein intake is a strategy, but it doesn't really specifically look at branched chain amino acids or amino studies looking at that compared to weight loss.
I'm interested because there's not really many. I mean, maybe from what you've seen, there were studies on muscle building from BCAAs. Like I feel like there would be more.
I'm right.
And from what I
found, it's really focusing on muscle recovery and soreness versus building muscle. So let's compare this study compared the effects of branched chain amino acids, acid supplementation taken before and after exercise on delayed onset muscle soreness, which they refer to as DOMS, and then exercise-induced muscle damage, so EIMD. So they compared taking the BCAAs beforehand for exercise and then afterwards to see if it had any differing effect on muscle soreness. And I'd like to point out that this study only had 15 men. I mean, these studies that are available, although they may show specific results, it's first of all, like you pointed out before, it's just men. And second of all, 15 people. So I think I have an opinion at the end, but I'll finish going through this.
Yeah.
So this specific study did confirm that repeated BCAA supplementation before exercise had a more beneficial effect on reducing DOMS, so delayed onset muscle soreness, and EIMDs, which are exercise-induced muscle damage, versus repeated supplementation after exercise. So that was their recommendation from this study. What they took out of it is that they found that it works better to supplement with BCAAs prior to exercise if you're looking to reduce muscle soreness and damage. My personal thought is, okay, fine, reducing your soreness, but I think to a degree it's good to feel not necessarily pain, but it's good to feel that soreness because then you can better evaluate your recovery. Do you need to take more time to recover? If you're masking that recovery, are you masking that soreness, I should say, are you actively recovering because you're not reacting to what your body's actually going through?
Right. And I think a good question there is, are the BCAAs just reducing the feeling of soreness though, or are they actually reducing the effect? Like are they reducing the amount of time or the feeling of soreness to the point that you just don't actually have as much soreness? So when you work out, what you're doing is you're actually breaking your muscles. So when you're say I'm doing a bicep curl, what's happening is I'm actually breaking those muscle fibers so that once I'm in recovery mode, they start to rebuild. Call it recovery because your muscles will need to rebuild. And that's what you get the soreness from, because those fibers are needing to bond back together. And what happens is the more that you break and build, the bigger they get, which is why you have muscle building.
Right. So your body's reacting to that tearing. So
I'm wondering if the BCAAs, what's going on there? Are they reducing the fiber breakage? Are they
the amount of tearing?
Are they reducing the tearing? Are they reducing the amount of time it takes to recover them? Which is what I'm thinking, because of what they do. BCAAs are their growth and metabolism. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure.
That's a great question. That's a really great question. And I think it's the latter, that they're just reducing the feeling of soreness afterwards. I think it's still the same amount of muscle tearing. Otherwise, it would be counterintuitive to take them if it's reducing that, because the point is to build, if you're doing strength training, would be to build up those muscles. And if you're reducing the amount of tearing, then you're reducing the amount of muscle build. But that's a really good thought.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So my overall take from this is, like I kind of mentioned before, first of all, they're only evaluating men. Second of all, I mean, yes, it was randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study. We love that. We are stands for that. But it was only 15 men for that second one, and I think 20, 22 for the first one. That's not a big enough study.
Yeah, that's a tiny sample size. And if you're wondering, a good sample size probably starts at around 150 people, maybe. There are studies out there though that, like, especially because this is the industry I'm in, like in AI studies, like they're doing studies on 1 million people, which is crazy and very cool.
Very cool. So overall recommendations that I take away from this and that I would recommend to people is that it's not necessary to take. If you want to take it because you feel as though you want to reduce your muscle soreness and it might help you, then go for it. I think that, like I said before, masking that soreness could possibly have a negative effect. If you're then not feeling it, you may not be properly recovering. You can eat plenty. You can get plenty of branched chain amino acids through eating protein sources, normal protein sources that you eat in everyday life, animal sources. So it's not necessary to get extra through supplementation.
So really, if you are eating I would say probably especially if you are doing muscle building, things like that. If you're having a protein source at each meal, you're probably good to go. You can add a protein supplement in there if you feel like you need it and it feels good. If it makes you feel good, go for it. But it's not mandatory. What I have to say. Yeah.
I would say the only time I really think supplementing protein could be necessary is in more extreme circumstances. If somebody just really has a taste for any type of protein sources.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay. Then you just have to work around that. Sometimes I can see maybe a vegetarian might struggle more depending on their preference. They don't like a lot of vegetarian sources of protein. So it's kind of more outstanding circumstances. And then also when I was working with athletes in my master's and undergrad, there were a lot of athletes who were working out so much that they just physically could not eat enough protein. So getting it in through liquid sources was just their only ways. And calories too, and carbs in addition to protein. So those are kind of more outstanding circumstances, but I absolutely agree with you in terms of just your average person, even your average person that likes to weight lift every day for even an hour. You can get adequate protein in through normal food sources. You don't need to pound protein. And what is actually very important, in addition to eating protein, after your workout is also carbohydrates. Lots of calories and
very true. One of my favorite things too, before we wrap up, is people that take protein with the expectation that it will build muscle without doing muscle building exercises.
I have not run into anybody like that.
I have. Everyone. If you want to build muscle, you gotta put the hard work in.
Oh, I do.
Sorry about it.
I can build muscle without knowing that.
Drink protein. If you eat a lot of protein,
strength training,
but you're not actually you gotta do the hard work and rebuild.
True.
It ain't gonna happen.
All right, y'all. Well, we're gonna wrap up now, and our next segment we're gonna get to hear about Chelsea's wonderful recipe and marketing.
Yay. All right. Agreed. Talk to you
because
soon.
These protein sources are.
We're here. I'm trying to make myself not have a hat now.
I love it. I think you should embrace it.
It's a crown.
It's a crown.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and all of our friends in between, we are back
and ready to hear your recipe. Lay it on us, sister.
Okay, so this week I did something that I feel like fits both in my New Zealand Southern Hemisphere springtime theme as well as the Northern Hemisphere autumn theme.
Ooh, we love it. We love it.
A little bit of both. And I made a carrot cake banana bread with a cream cheese glaze.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It was so
I love a good carrot cake, and I am obsessed with cream cheese frosting. So
right?
I'm here for it.
Oh my gosh, it was so good. The reason I made it was because we are moving soon. I'm going to the States. Well, we're meant to go to the States together and move out of our old haunted villa. Just in time for spooky season. But we'll actually be staying with his sister for a little bit. So we are moving out of our place though, which means we are trying to get rid of all of our stuff, all the stuff in the freezer, all the stuff in the fridge. And something that happened with lockdown again was that I don't know about every supermarket, and I talk about this in my recipe video as well, but I don't know about every supermarket, but ours were, especially during level 4 when it was really intense, they were trying to make it so that people weren't just grabbing produce, which makes sense. You don't want a bunch of grody COVID hands on your produce. So, but everything came in bags.
Oh, they didn't do that around here.
Like it was like you either get no onions or you get a massive bag of onions.
Oh.
So I would say maybe a month ago, Will wanted 1 carrot and came home with a 2-kilogram bag of carrots.
Oh, we're using the metric system now?
Well, that's all we got here. I mean, it's about, let's say, 4 pounds to 5 pounds of carrots, guys.
That's so many carrots.
I know. So we had carrot everything. And finally I was down to the last 4 or 5 and I'm like, I'm making something to get rid of these carrots. And we also had a lot of frozen bananas that old bananas that I'd put in the freezer being like, I'm going to cook with these. I'm going to make smoothies. I did.
I love doing that.
Yeah. I forgot that they were in there. And then I just have, I had so many frozen bananas and carrots. So I was like, I'm making something with both.
I love it.
So
using your resources.
Yes. I'm trying to get rid of stuff. And I feel like banana bread is now a lockdown essential, I think. So I figured, let's go for it.
It's funny you mentioned banana bread because we were only in lockdown once over here in March of 2020, and I was making a lot of banana bread.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Right. I mean,
so good.
I love banana bread, and when you put it with carrot cake, it's got so many good stuff. So, I made it last Friday, which I thought was going to be before this episode, but now we're recording it this day. But yeah, so I made it, and really it was pretty easy to make. Grating the carrots took a little bit of time. However, there are a couple things I did want to talk about too. I was just using the things in my kitchen. So for example, I had coconut sugar because that's just what I had. I didn't have brown sugar.
Did it work as well?
Oh yeah, it was just fine. And yeah, I would say it tastes just the exact same, pretty much.
Yum! I want some now.
It was so
when I'm
good.
Banana bread next.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was amazing, and the cream cheese glaze really.
Like, not to toot my own horn, but they were fabulous.
I felt really happy about it. I've made a lot of things in the past, and they didn't turn out, and I was really happy that this one did. I would say though, along our lines of this week we're kind of talking about myths and busting myths, which I think you did a good job in your research as well, kind of talking about protein supplements, protein powders, things like that. And for this one too, there's just a few things that I used in my recipe. So like coconut sugar, guys, sugar is sugar.
True.
Coconut sugar isn't any healthier than any other kind of sugar. It's all gonna be the same, whether it's coconut sugar, brown sugar, white sugar, turbinado sugar, raw beet sugar.
And I know there's a lot of, I got this question the other day about glycemic index in terms of the different types of sugar, and that's a whole other topic, but I just think I did get that question, and I just kind of was like, it's too nitpicky. It's too nitpicky. Well, I have patients who are diabetic, and I don't even have them focus on glycemic index because it's just too nitpicky. There's no reason to focus on that. Just enjoy food.
Don't go too much into glycemic index because next week we are talking about carbs, and my research is similar.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So
all I was going to say. Yeah.
The research I've pulled talks about things like that. So we're going to talk about that.
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited.
Look forward to that. But
by the way, the reason I keep scratching my chin and my neck is because my little baby hairs keep tickling me.
Oh. Oh my, well, I mean, that's what I'm doing this whole time. So I'm still waiting to get my hair cut. I was supposed to have it right now, actually. My haircut appointment has been pushed twice now because of lockdown. And now it's just like so long and my bangs are super long. So I'm working with it, but it's all right. But anyway, back to the recipe. There was a couple things that were like that though. So same with the sugar. I did use coconut oil. Again, I'm just trying to get rid of it. And we were out of butter. But butter would have worked the same. And same with probably any other oil would have been just fine. The oil in that recipe is just there for softness and flavor. So again, any would have worked. Coconut oil does have different compounds and nutrients than other oils, but one of them isn't going to be better than the other. In the end, the macro is just a fat. And we can talk about this when we kind of get to our questions later on, but the way that macros break down, we can use the different compounds in them, but they're all just going to turn into energy anyway. So yeah, we'll talk about it a little bit, but I'm just saying, of all the things I put in there, and I mentioned in my recipe video, there are different swaps you can make depending on your dietary preferences, any allergies, intolerances, things like that. However, anything's okay. It's all just fine to have, whether you're using whole wheat flour, white flour, sugar, whatever type of sugar you want, things like that. I kind of just want to remove the idea that food you have to use healthy ingredients to enjoy food. You don't have to. Food can be anything you want. So I don't know. That's just kind of, and especially with like a recipe like this, it's so yum. There are some really, great things in there. Like bananas, awesome. It has tons of potassium and great energy. Carrots are great vitamin A. Awesome.
Good for your eyes.
Yeah. So like those are all awesome things. However, if you have a baked good that doesn't have those things, that's cool too, So I don't know. I just like to remind people of that. But yeah.
I love that sound. First of all, that sounds amazing. I want to make it. And I like that you brought that up because you use the coconut sugar. I think it could have been really easy for people to assume that you did that because you're a dietitian and it's like the quote unquote healthier version. So I'm really glad that you pointed out that for you were just using it because you're using up the food in your house, and it's absolutely okay to eat any type of sugar because sugar is sugar is sugar is sugar.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. And one more thing I did want to add is I had the option. I was going to add some coconut flakes and maybe some nuts to it as well. You can also put maybe even stuff like that. And I had them on hand. But at the time, I actually just didn't feel like putting them in. And that's okay too. And I think that sometimes people forget when you're trying to make either a healthy recipe or you're just following something, you don't have to force yourself to do things for health or for whatever reason to eat something. If you're not feeling like it, if you don't want to put it on there, if you don't want to add it for like aesthetic reasons or whatever, it doesn't always have to be 100% perfect. And it's okay. Like, and I said in the video too, I was like, I'm just not really feeling like eating coconut flakes right now. I like them, but I'm just not in the mood. And that's, I don't know. I would say that's something I talk to a lot of my clients about is just listening to your body and listening to kind of what you're feeling like to say, actually, this might be really healthy for me, or it might, whatever. It might feel good. It might just not feel good at the time. And it doesn't matter what food it is. I just wasn't in the mood, and that's okay.
I like that because I always like to tell my clients that there's no good or bad foods. Every food just has a purpose, and you just have to identify the purpose. So if the purpose is you're really craving banana bread with cream-cheese frosting and you're going to eat it because it satisfies that craving and makes you happy, then that's a wonderful purpose. If the purpose is, you know what, I'm really want to eat this broccoli right now because I know it's going to give me great micronutrients and fiber, and it's going to make me feel good and help me reach my health goals, and I'm not craving banana bread or in the mood for it, then that's also a purpose. So just identifying that purpose will help you get there. But I'm really excited. What a great recipe. It's perfect for the season.
Yes, I was hoping that it would be. I thought it was a good middle ground. So
yes, I love it. All right, guys. We'll see you. We'll take a little break and then we'll talk to you and see you, depending on if you're on YouTube or podcast, for our next segment, which will answer some of your questions.
Awesome. See you soon.
Hello. Welcome back. This, I have to say, so far has been my favorite segment that we do.
Me too. I love that we get to kind of have a voice from our listeners here and just people, you know, I think it can be really difficult, especially, you know, if you're not familiar with something, to find answers with all of the things out there. So being able to actually ask someone and get a good detailed answer, I think is really helpful.
Being able to ask an expert too.
Yeah, definitely.
So I named this episode I Herb Through the Grapevine because, like I mentioned last episode, I'm on the food pun train right now. My goal is to name every episode, make it a food pun. But the idea behind this episode, the questions we're going to be answering are kind of debunking nutrition rumors, things that you guys have heard through the grapevine or heard through the grapevine, and those just really mean nutrition rumors. We got a few different questions. We got a lot of questions, but we got a few different questions that were very similar. So we thought we would kind of wrap them into a neat little package.
I love that. I'm so supportive of you and your puns. I'm definitely not as clever when coming up with puns, but I am here to follow.
I appreciate this.
All right, shall I read the first question?
You shall.
Okay. Ready?
Go for it.
So we had two different questions that were pretty similar. So one is intermittent fasting healthy? And I've heard intermittent fasting is the best way to lose weight. Is that true? April, do you want to start us off?
I get this question 1 million times a day.
Well, I saw you answer it when you did an Instagram takeover yesterday, and you did a really good job answering it. So I would like you to go for it.
So I get this question a lot. Intermittent fasting. I think it's just sweeping the nation. It's one of the, not new, but one of the more popular fad diets right now. So right now, there is no research to show that intermittent fasting works any better than just a regular 3 meals a day, healthy, balanced diet in terms of reaching your health goals. And if that is weight loss is the main thing that intermittent fasting, people use it to promote weight loss, and it doesn't necessarily help you lose weight or be healthier, reach your health goals any faster than a normal diet. And there are a few other things about it too that I always like to point out. When you are fasting, you are ignoring your natural hunger and fullness cues, which, you know, our bodies are amazing, smart, and complex. And I'll say that 1 million times throughout all of our podcasts. I know it because it's true. And if your body is telling you that you are hungry, then that means you need fuel. It's not telling you that for no reason at all. So to ignore those natural cues really just, I think, sets you up for failure in many ways. So it can really destroy your relationship with food, especially if you're not eating when you're starving or you're hungry. It can make you feel guilty around certain foods. And I feel like intermittent fasting itself can have really two different effects. If you're keeping yourself from eating, a lot of people end up overeating or binge eating later on in the day because they're so hungry. Or there could be people who end up really hurting their metabolism because they're eating so little that they don't have those hunger cues anymore, and then they're prevented from reaching their health goals. And in addition to that, there are no long-term studies right now to show the long-term effects of intermittent fasting, whether that will be micronutrient deficiencies or eating disorders that are developed from it or anything like that. So I am not a fan or support of intermittent fasting at this time. I do not recommend it to anybody or my clients.
I agree. I think intermittent fasting is the best way to completely ruin your hunger and fullness cues. It is the best way to ignore what your body is telling you, which is not what we want. Clearly your body does all of these things for a reason, and to just say, nah, I'm going to let my brain override all of my system's needs and my system's cues and responses. Sure, like it's going to lead to something that's not sustainable.
100%.
And something I always like to talk about too is like, as a baby, when you are a child, or if you've ever been around a baby, how often do they get hungry and what do? They cry, or if they can talk, they say, I'm hungry, and they eat. And
absolutely,
we as adults, we kind of lose that, especially a lot of us that were in the Clean Your Plate Club, that were in the I'm hitting puberty and now I have to be on a diet club, or a lot of different things. A lot of us lose that as we get older. But honestly, the best way to ever reach your sustainable long-term self is to get back in touch with that, what we call intuitive eating, those hunger and fullness cues, because it's just not going to work. Intermittent fasting is not sustainable. If you're going to eat for 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours of the day, what happens when it's a holiday week or you're on vacation or things like this are happening? It's not going to work. They're going to turn into cheat days, which turn into cheat weeks to cheat months, however. And they aren't. I hate cheat whatever, but that's a lot of the phrases that people use. And really it should just be, every day is just a chance to let food not be the focus. And I think when you're doing intermittent fasting, so many people are focused on, well, I can't eat until noon. I can't eat until this time. So I'm just going to, do all these things in the meantime and just think about the food because I'm restricting it until this time. And personally, as someone who's had a lot of issues with eating disorders, binge eating, things like that in the past, I just see this blowing up. Like personally, as someone like, I've been there with binging. I've been there with restricting and trying to do intermittent fasting, especially if anyone has had any disordered eating or eating disorder issues, which is 3 out of 4 women. So a lot of us. And I don't even know with men, it's really hard. With men, it's really hard this is the only thing that hasn't been researched well on men, because men don't bring it up. They don't say, I have an eating disorder, which a lot of men do. But 3 out of 4 women have some eating disorder or disordered eating issues. And to bring intermittent fasting on the table is just
it just curates that unhealthy relationship.
Yeah. It's just saying, okay, great. Let's restrict even more. And that's just going to lead to unhealthy behaviors around food. So yeah, I agree. I don't like it.
Before we move on to the next question, I heard / saw, I guess, because I was on Instagram, so both, another dietitian on Instagram, and I forget who it was, otherwise I would cite them, but they made a really good comparison for intermittent fasting. And they said, okay, so for intermittent fasting, say you're ignoring your hunger cues, you're hungry all morning, all afternoon, and you're not allowed to eat till 6 p.m., whenever it is, you're ignoring those hunger cues, right? If you really had to pee, in the morning, would you say, no, I'm not allowed to pee until 6 p.m. and just hold it all day? No, you wouldn't. You would go pee. So It's just it's a silly comparison, but it's true too. You're just ignoring your body's natural cues and what it's telling you it needs. So
yeah, and I think, that's something too people forget, that hunger is just another bodily process. Eating is just something that our bodies need to do. It's nothing any more special than the other things. Eating is just a part of daily life, the same way that going to the bathroom is, and having to breathe and like things like that are just processes that your body has to do. And I think when we put too much pressure and focus too much on it and really just have it's so specialized, and it's really not. It's just another act of the human existence that we just have to do. And when you kind of dumb it down to that point, it kind of, I think, makes it a little bit easier to say, okay, I'm just going to, sit back and let my body kind of tell me what I need, rather than tell my body what it needs.
And we're just reinforced in this diet culture to ignore those hunger cues, or to feel like we should feel bad for having hunger cues and being hungry, which is not true.
Mm-mm.
So do you want me to read the next question, or do you want to read the next question?
You can read the next question, April.
Alrighty. So we also got multiple questions surrounding the same topic. I'm going to read off 2 of them. We got, what is your take on counting macros? And then also, I've heard of so many people counting macros. What's your take? Oh, very similar questions.
Yeah, very similar questions.
What is your take on counting macros, Kelsey? Lay it on me. And everyone listening.
I know. Well, a lot of people do this. I know. And really, in the end, all macros turn into energy. And I think having really, really strict every day has to be this grams of carbs, this amount of grams of protein, this amount of grams of fat, kind of, goes back to what we were just talking about with intermittent fasting. It just gets too, you're focusing too much on the intake, I think is my opinion. And I don't know. I just think maybe just to take a step back. And again, your body knows. If you're wanting some carbs, if you're wanting some fat, if you're wanting some protein, honoring that and going for it, I think is great. Having that variety without having to count the numbers is great too. So when you're able to build a plate, kind of like what we were talking about last episode, building that plate, having the diversity, putting some protein on the plate, putting some fat on the plate, putting some carbs on the plate, fruit and vegetables, things like that is a lot healthier, in my opinion, and better suited for not just your physical health, but your mental health and your social health and all of those other things that go into the picture than, weighing your chicken breast. What do you think?
So I agree. I am not a promoter of macro counting because I think it takes away from listening to your natural hunger and fullness cues, takes away from being able to intuitively eat and listen to your body, because you may sit down with, for easy example, potatoes, chicken, and green beans on your plate. You've counted out those macros perfectly, and you need to eat every single drop on that plate to meet your macros. Well, what if you don't want every drop on that plate? What if you're not hungry enough for that? Or what if you're more hungry than what's on your plate and you want more? So either way, it's, and I think it can be flexible to a degree, but I think it also can create a unhealthy relationship with food. It could even, in some extreme circumstances, lead to disordered eating. And a lot of the clients I've worked with have been counting macros and those types of things for years. And when I tell them they don't have to anymore and they finally get off of it, they feel such relief because they finally don't have to think of food as numbers or things. They can actually just enjoy the food that they're eating and think about the flavors and the taste and the satisfaction factor, which I think is so much more enjoyable. I will say the only time I've seen or think paying that close attention to macros could be beneficial is, maybe an extreme circumstance like an endurance athlete or, athletes where it really is their job and they do need to make sure they get enough protein and carbohydrates and fat in, because otherwise it could be dangerous for them. And and I think there are safe ways to do that. So they're not getting obsessive, but it's just being aware they need to increase it more than maybe the average person. And I don't even necessarily think they need to technically macro count. I think there's a way to get around that too. But yeah. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah, I agree. And I think too, along with, really, really high energy athletes is also something that we use macros a lot with is MNT, like medical nutrition therapy. People that are patients in hospitals that need tube feeding or IV nutrition, which is a lot of what dietitians do as well. Shout out to all of our clinical dietitians. So, I mean, that's a place where certain types of macros do matter depending on the condition, depending on the tube feed.
Yeah, I mean, we count the macros for tube feedings and TPNs. We don't tell the patients what they are.
Yeah, definitely.
We just prescribe the tube feeding rate and go on our merry way.
Yeah, yeah. They don't know.
Right.
Doesn't matter. I mean, even when working in it was an outpatient eating disorder program, we did count all the calories and macros that all of the clients were getting. I guess we call them clients, not really patients. Obviously, we did not share that information. But it's just a good way for us to keep track of intake and needs and just
to make sure they're getting enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's the other way around. We're trying to make sure they're getting enough of everything then
versus restricting.
Yeah. But overall, for the general public, you don't have
not necessary. Not necessary.
No. Last question.
Last question. Go right ahead.
All right. Where are my questions? All right. Last one. Does apple cider vinegar really work?
What a wonderful question. I have seen so much out there about apple cider vinegar, and my biggest issue with diet culture in general, but also the claims about apple cider vinegar, is that it is just a miracle worker. People like to claim that, you know, if you take a shot of apple cider vinegar every morning, all of your health dreams will come true. You'll lose massive amounts of weight. All these magical things will happen. Not that losing massive amounts of weight is magical things, but these are the things that they're promising.
Yeah.
And it's just not true. There is no one food item, pill, powder, juice, cleanse, shot, whatever you want to call it, that will magically make your health dreams come true. It's never going to make up for a well-balanced, healthy diet and movement.
Agreed. Yeah. And we did do a little bit of research beforehand and looked at some studies, because there are a couple studies that say, it does cause weight loss when also like on a calorie restricted diet. So on a low calorie diet with the apple cider vinegar, it has caused it in a couple of studies, but there are a lot of studies that also say that it doesn't work. So keeping in mind, there's variation in
a lot of contradicting information.
A lot of contradictory information. And keep in mind here, you know, weight loss does not equal health. So first of all, you're drinking this thing that, have you ever drunk it, April?
No.
Okay.
It looks gross.
It is really so gross. Me. I
think I've had it like in things.
Yeah, in things. I love making apple cider vinegar like dressing, like salad dressing.
Yeah, I've had it in salad dressing.
Yeah, very good in salad dressing. On its own, I was like deep in eating disorder, Kelsey. I tried it and it was, it's awful. And yeah, it does definitely decrease your appetite because it tastes so bad. And you don't want to eat anything and your throat's on fire. So
that sounds terrible.
That's not healthy. Having that feeling of that's not good. And so, yeah, what I'm saying is weight loss does not equal health here or ever. That number on the scale is just your gravitational pull. It's a measure of your gravitational pull to this earth. It doesn't show your value. It doesn't show your worth. It doesn't show how healthy really you are. There are so many other things that go into health than that number. If anything, I would say that number is like one of the least important things when looking at health.
So one of my favorite things to point out about weight is, first of all, that it doesn't tell you your relationship with food. So even if you're at the weight you want to be at, you could have a terrible relationship with food, and that is something that isn't very important as well. But it also doesn't tell your body composition either. So I always like to ask people, if they come to me and they say, I want to lose weight, I want to be at this number, I'm like, okay, when you lose weight, when you say you want to lose weight, what are you picturing as the end result? What do you really want out of that weight loss? Because if all you were doing was just seeing numbers changing and you were exactly the same, I doubt that you'd be focusing on weight loss. So what is it you really want? And most of the time people say they want body composition change. Like, okay, so you want to tone, you want to build muscle, you want to feel better, have more energy. So if your weight stayed exactly the same or even went up higher, but you had body composition change, or you felt better in your clothes, or you had more energy, you had all these things that you really want from the weight loss, how would you feel? And it's just a really interesting question, because we just, as a society, are so hyper-focused on those 3 numbers when really it doesn't mean a whole lot. And most people are like, really think about it and they're like, actually, like, I would be okay with that, because I would have really what I want from all of this, which is maybe body composition change, or better relationship with food, or better energy. And weight loss isn't the end all be all.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah. And I think the most important thing to remember too, like we've talked about in the research segments, that there's one study that points out that it could have possibly worked for a group of people in addition to calorie restriction. That doesn't mean anything in the research world. You need a lot of studies proving the exact same thing over and over again with large amount of participants, and one study just doesn't cut it for me.
I agree. Yeah, not enough for solid evidence there. And keeping in mind too, you know, if you're forcing yourself to have this thing, that it's really gross, guys. It's really nasty.
Yeah.
Not sustainable, not long term.
Yeah.
And there's so many other factors that go into this as well when we look at those studies, when we look at any weight loss study in general. Usually weight loss studies look at the intervention and the weight of the participants. Very few of them look at all of the hundreds of things that actually go into our health. And that number on the scale can change because of anything. And that's okay. It's okay if that number changes. But really, it shouldn't be the main focus. There are so many things that go into it. Which is why I love kind of what you talked about as well, kind of looking at all the other things that
all other factors. Yeah. I always like to leave people, there's a mosquito stalking me. No. Go away.
Are you getting eaten up?
I think so.
Did you get it?
Sorry, I had to do a temporary pause. No. Anyways, what I like to say, and I want to leave everybody with today as we wrap up, because I think we've been talking for like 18 hours. Is that everybody thinks, I love talking to you too. Everybody thinks that being healthy, living a healthy lifestyle means you have to be starving and you have to eat foods you don't like.
Yeah.
That is not true. You should never be starving. You should be, if you're hungry, you should be eating. And just because you're healthy doesn't mean you're always eating things you don't like.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning and the end of it.
You hit it right on the head. I wish everyone knew that. Hopefully they do. Hopefully now they do.
Well, thank you all so much for tuning in for our second official episode of Taste Buds.
Yay! Keep an eye out, because our next episode will be on carbs, which is exciting. We're talking about all things carbs.
All things carbs.
All of the questions, all of the, I don't know, all of your things about it. If you have any questions, please let us know. There is a link in our bio on our Instagram page where you can ask questions, and you can visit our YouTube channel, and you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts on there too.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to rate and leave a review. We love feedback. And
feedback is awesome, and it really helps us out in general.
Yes. Thank you guys.
Sweet. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.